Hello, my lovely friend. It is me, Troy, your master coach, here on the podcast, On to Purpose Over a Paycheck. Yes, welcome back. We are now kicking off episode number 7, Becoming the Evidence. I love this episode because this episode really aligns to what my theme for 2026 is. Living as the evidence. That's my theme. So welcome back. Glad to have you here. Hopefully you're gathering and gaining some knowledge and some understanding. I hope you are enjoying these episodes. We've officially finished the first week off with our episode number 7, because we got many more coming, friends. Many more about this journey. And it's been an adventure. It's been a ride, and I'm so excited to continue this podcast and to really share with you the ups and the downs, as well as the new rebuild of this framework that I'm doing for my life. And hopefully, if you're choosing to choose purpose over a paycheck, you're taking away some golden nuggets that you can apply to your own process. Right? To your own process. So today's episode is called Becoming the Evidence. And this one feels like a quiet exhale. Because after the conversations I've shared with you this week about purpose, panic, money, rebuilding, this particular episode is about what actually holds it all together. Right? It's not proof, not results, not external validation. What it is, it's who you are becoming while you are still in motion. Okay? While you're still in motion. So when we choose purpose, especially before the paycheck catches up, there's a natural desire for evidence. We want something to point to. We want something to justify the decision, and we want something that says, see? I was right. And that desire makes sense. Because we live in a world that rewards outcomes, but we live in a world that does not reward process. Certainly for not becoming. So, when the evidence doesn't show up quickly, our good friend doubt starts to whisper in our ear. And when it starts to whisper, here's the part most people don't realize. If you're waiting for external evidence before embodying this change, you'll always fall behind your own life. Because evidence doesn't come before identity shifts. It comes after it. So the life you're building responds to who you are being consistently, not who you plan to become someday, right? It goes back to that time when you've heard many people say, well, when the time is right, when I have a lot of money, when I have all these things, then I'll do it, right? That's the do, have, and be. Sometimes it's the have, then do, and then be. But what we're talking about is the be, do, and have. You're going to become what you want, the new identity. You're going to start doing these things. You're going to be consciously aware with those decisions that you make. And then before you know it, you're going to have the income that you want. And that's uncomfortable when you're trying to not become who you want, because it asks you to trust yourself before the results arrive. It's very uncomfortable to say, I'm going to become this. I don't need the evidence right now, but I'm going to become this before the results arrive. One of the most exhausting things people do in transitions is trying to explain them to themselves. Explain why they left, Been there, done that. I've asked myself that question many times. Why did I choose to leave December 19th? I try to explain why it's taking time. Why is this not working any faster? Why are people not buying my ebooks? Why are people not signing up for my coaching business? Why am I not making any money? And explain why this matters. Like, did I really make a choice? Does it, there's other people doing it out there. Why can't I just go back to the normal job that I have, doing the same things, doing all the normal stuff that I do? But seriously, those are some great questions. But here's the truth. You don't convince people with explanations. You convince people with the embodiment. Because it's calm. There's clarity. There's consistency. Calm, clarity, consistency are going to speak louder than progress reports ever will. We live in a world where it's always about progress reports, but when people see that this person was calm, clear, and consistent, the evidence is like, wow. Understand that becoming the evidence is not flashy. It looks like showing up even when no one's watching, making grounded decisions repeatedly, staying regulated when results are slow, and holding boundaries without justification. Evidence is not loud. It's not performative. And because of that, it often goes unnoticed until suddenly it doesn't. And you see for yourself, and people will start to see. And then you tell yourself, wow. You tell yourself like, wow. And this is the point where often people quit. Not because they failed, not because they underestimated how invisible this phase would feel, because there's going to be no applause, there's going to be no immediate payoff, there's going to be no reassurance from the outside, right? It's just you choosing alignment again and again and again. And that can feel lonely if you expect external confirmation too soon. It can be so lonely if you're expecting external confirmation too soon. But this phase, I'm going to tell you, friend, is not wasted. This phase is foundational. It is foundational. Identity doesn't change because you decided something new or something once. It changes because you repeated alignment until it became familiar. What that repetition does is it rewires the safety, it builds your self-trust, it stabilizes your nervous system, and it creates an internal evidence. And I'm going to say, internal evidence always comes before the external results. So, if you're listening to this and thinking, I don't feel like I have anything to show yet, I want you to pause and I want you to hear this clearly. You being calm is evidence. Your boundaries are evidence. And your willingness to stay present is evidence. Becoming isn't something you announce, it's something you are living. And living it quietly is often what makes it real. One of the most powerful shifts is releasing the need to rush the results you are looking for. Because when you stop chasing proof, something interesting happens. You start trusting yourself more. And when you have self-trust, it starts to stabilize, and then your decisions will start to improve. Because your energy becomes clearer, and your opportunities are more aligned in a more natural way. Because results don't need to be forced, they need space to arrive. So, evidence is not just income. It's not just success, and it's not just outcomes. Evidence is How you respond to the stress now, how you treat yourself in the uncertainty, and how you move without abandoning this new you. Those changes matter, friend, and they compound. So as we bring this first week to a close, I want to leave you with something. I want you to know that you don't need to prove your purpose. You need to practice it. Let your life do the talking. Let consistency replace the urgency. Let embodiment replace the explanation. And remember, you don't become the evidence all at once. You become it by staying. All right, as always, if this episode resonated, make sure you follow this podcast, you share this out with family and friends, make sure you leave a rating, and I want you to stay with me on this journey. If you have any questions, please feel to reach out to me, DM me on my social medias. My link is in the show notes. You click on that, it'll take you to my link tree, and then it'll tell you how you can get a hold of me on Instagram and TikTok. That's mostly where I'm at. If you do follow me on Facebook, you can reach out to me on Messenger as well. There's multiple ways you can reach out to me. Like I said, and I'm really grateful and appreciative that you are walking side by side with me on this journey by just supporting and listening to the podcast, sharing your comments and your feelings about it. And again, thank you to all those who are reaching out to me and sending me positive vibes and giving me words of encouragement, because I'll tell you right now, those are what I really do hold on to in this new embodiment of my new journey in life, in making this all happen, right? And this all happen. So I just want you to know that we're just getting started. Just because we're wrapping up week number 1, I'm not done. This podcast is not finished. This podcast has just barely started to grow. And it's going to get better and better each week. Because, as we said, the process of consistency, we're going to start seeing the evidence. We're going to start seeing the new shift and this new transition in life. So, as I always say, I love you. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.